Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 8 of Invincible Season 2, the season finale, and it's probably gonna be a while before we get to Season 3, so let's just let this stay in our head for a while. And yeah, this one picks up immediately after the last episode. Angstrom is in Mark's house, has the mom captured, and the baby all at portal point. He's pointing portals at them. Anyways, so Mark shows up, of course, and he's threatening he's threatening his mom, and so Mark charges at him, and the predictable thing happens. He gets sent through a portal, and they pretty much do this about 12 times. Mark goes through a portal, and then he charges at him, and he gets sent through another portal, and then he tries to fly a different direction, he gets sent through another portal. And we get a ton of really fun things happening here. We get talking dinosaurs and zombies and someone who's supposed to be Spider-Man and then someone who's supposed to be Batman. Just a lot of really fun things. It would have been cool if they could actually have made those small cameos happen, but I can understand if it just would have been too expensive of a thing to try and actually make a deal for those characters to show up, but it was still pretty cool. And basically it all culminates with Angstrom just being like, oh, I hate you because you're so evil, and all these other multiverses, and this is stuff that we found out early on this season, but basically it's just, because Angstrom is the culmination, the collective of all these different versions of himself across the multiverse. The majority of the Marks he knows, pretty much everyone except for this one, are evil, and so he thinks that he's the good guy in this situation, trying to stop him. Of course, only one version of him inside that giant brain of his realizes that this Mark is not evil and he's the bad guy in this situation. But anyways, basically he's trying to weaken Mark by sending him through all these portals and leaving him trapped in all these different situations, until eventually he tries to kill him himself, and he starts gloating about how, like, oh, my body's been enhanced and I'm super strong now, and he does get a couple good punches in, so you're like, okay, this is gonna be like our actual fight. And I kind of said this, in the last couple episodes, I was like, I don't see how they could possibly wrap all this up in one episode, because they pretty much, like, they introduced this guy, this multiversal guy who was in this accident, and then they really didn't touch on it for the entirety of the rest of the season. We get like small glimpses, but like it was just like this open-ended thing that they're just not addressing. And then here we are, last episode, and I didn't know how they could possibly wrap it all up, so I assumed like, oh, he'll be an ongoing villain for the next couple seasons, but no, turns out no. That's not what's happening. So yeah, basically Mark is so, he just kind of loses it for a second. He loses his cool, and yeah, Angstrom definitely pushed him there, right? Like, Angstrom was not going to stop. He was going to just portal them somewhere else, or portal back and threaten the mom again. So like, Mark kind of didn't have a choice, but he just punches Angstrom to death. He just beats him to death, and then Mark realizes what he's just done, and he's like, oh, I thought you were stronger, which was the name of the episode. But basically it's just like, you built up this bad guy, and you gave him this origin story, and you gave him this interesting motivation, and you just let him die in their first real fight, because it's more about, how this is going to affect Mark moving forward than it is about some epic punching match, So it's very interesting what they decided to do here. I can see some people may be disappointed because, like, you spent so much time and like so much waiting happened, being like, when are they gonna get back to this guy? They just set it up for no reason, and there you go. He was kind of like, all that setup was just for him to die in a pretty crazy way. So yeah, just basically Mark has now killed someone. Is this the first person he's killed? Maybe. And Mark's mom, her arm was broken, so she's also not in great shape. Mark gets rescued by future versions of the Guardians of the Globe, like 20 years on. He's been missing for that long, so this version that has a bunch of time machines eventually finds Mark and rescues him, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. It feels like kind of a cheap way to get out of that situation, because it's like, you're telling me he can just wait in any place for long enough, and eventually someone across the multiverse will have looked for him, and a portal will open up any second. Like, that's kind of how it seems. So like, he will never need to worry about being trapped anywhere, because someone's gonna open a portal. He'll be all right. So very interesting. Also, an older version of Eve basically tells him like, hey, go tell the younger version of me that you love her or you don't love her, because I know how I feel in this exact moment 20 years earlier. So, you know, that's gonna be a thing, which Mark almost says and then decides not to later on. And yeah, basically just Mark is back now and Engstrom is gone, and the rest of this episode is really just Mark trying to deal with the fact that he lost it for a second, and he's got so much power that he doesn't want to end up accidentally becoming his dad. You know, which it makes sense, but also it does kind of feel like, didn't we do this already? Like, haven't we? I thought this was something that we kind of covered at the beginning of the season, so to have this sort of be his thing again is like, I guess, you know, he's just once again just like, I can't lose control, I gotta be careful. So okay. Meanwhile, Adam the alien, of course, or is it Alan? No, it's Adam. It's Adam. Adam the alien, of course, let himself be captured, and so now he's on board the Viltrumite ship, and he runs into Nolan, and he basically, you know, at first unsuccessfully, but Nolan eventually comes to the realization that he actually does miss his wife, and he does regret everything that he's done, and, you know, maybe he will try to escape, which, as I pointed out last week, they showed him, like, you know, heavily dent the floor, so it's not like, oh, they have to escape because these walls are impossible to get through. It's more like he just didn't have the motivation to try to escape. You know, I'm sure him and Alan could easily fight their way out of this ship and make it back to Earth, I guess. So, you know, we'll see how all that plays out. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the season. I mean, everything kind of wrapped up really neatly. Mark is, you know, dealing with new troubles. Of course, the Viltrumites are still eventually gonna all show up, but yeah, I wouldn't say that this one ended on any like major reveals or any kind of like, you know, it was all just kind of wrapping up character arcs, wrapping up storylines. You know, we even get a little bit of what's his name, Robot, and then the girl who turns big on the Guardians on the Globe. They like, we even get a little bit of like them kind of, you know, reconciling after he said that stupid thing last episode about like trying to fix her. Oh, Kate, we got confirmation that there is still a Kate copy, or the original Kate is still around. She has a number 0 on her suit. So, you know, she goes and tells the Immortal that she's still alive. So yeah, just everything feels like kind of wrapped up really neatly. I was expecting to get something, you know, maybe a little bit more of like, oh, the Viltrumites are coming now, like they're on their way, and that's where we end things, but didn't really happen like that. And yeah, I don't know, I mean, it feels like this one just ended on a much more like, you know, personal character stakes than like world ending crazy threat stakes, you know, like season 1 ended on that. But yeah, pretty interesting of a second season. I still have not read the books, so I don't know where this is all gonna end up going, like when the Viltrumites are showing up and how Alan and Omni-Man are gonna escape. It seems like it should be easy, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much the episode. That's pretty much how it ends. You know, a lot of great moments, a lot of great fight scenes, a lot of great little Easter eggs to find in all the multiverse hopping. But I will say, it doesn't feel quite as epic as the ending of season 1. I feel like that one was just because we followed like one mystery plot line of like, why did he do this? And then it all comes out at the very end there. Whereas this one, you know, this season was just juggling so many different things. And by the end of it, it's like, I guess it wrapped up, but I don't feel like I was hyper invested in any one plot like Engstrom here, you know, like I said, they built him up at the beginning of the season, and then he doesn't show up until the end. Was I really invested in his whole deal? I don't really think so, you know. So maybe if they had stuck with him more, then I don't know. I would feel like all of that mattered more, but I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the ending of Invincible season 2, and I'll see you guys next time.